Okay, what if I told you there's a secret rule book, a kind of universal grammar that explains how everything, and I mean everything from a single cell to the entire global economy, solves its toughest problems? We're talking about a fundamental system for dealing with conflict, with contradiction, and today, yeah, we're going to break it all down.
I mean, just think about it for a second. A living cell has to decide, do I grow or do I repair? An entire economy has to balance spending money right now against investing for the future. And you have to choose between pushing harder at work or getting the rest you desperately need, right? Every single adaptive system, from the microscopic to the massive, is constantly facing these impossible choices, these totally conflicting demands. So how on earth do they solve them?
Well, here's the wild part. The answer is they're all following the exact same hidden logic. And to really get our heads around this, we're going to use a really powerful analogy. Let's just imagine that any system, doesn't matter if it's an idea, a company, or even just a simple symbol, is a house. Trust me, this simple picture is going to let us see these super complex rules in a completely new way.
Okay, so first things first. Every house has to be built on a piece of land, right? And that land has rules. In this universal grammar, we call that a field. You can think of it as the context, the fundamental jurisdiction that governs everything. It's kind of like the zoning laws in a city, or even the laws of physics in our universe. A field is what says, yep, this is possible, nope, can't do that, or you can do this, but it's going to cost you.
All right, next up, we've got the weather. This is all the external stuff pressing in on our house. So crazy heat wave doesn't suddenly make it illegal to work in your upstairs office, but man, it makes it almost unbearable, right? A power cut makes cooking in the kitchen pretty much impossible. See, the weather doesn't change the fundamental rules of the land, but it absolutely, 100%, changes what you can realistically do at any given moment.
Now, this next layer is absolutely crucial. We call it modalities. And this is all about what kind of building we're talking about. It's the internal setup, the modal footprint, that really defines its purpose. If it's got a kitchen and bedrooms, well, its modality is home. But rip those out and put in some weights and treadmills, and boom, its modality is now a gym. So you see, the features aren't just describing the house, they're defining what can even happen inside it.
And finally, rounding out our house analogy, every single one has a trace. Think of this as its history, its current condition, all rolled into one. You know that creaky floorboard you can't put anything heavy on? Or that new coat of paint that's hiding some questionable color choices from the past? These aren't just little details. No way. They are the living memory of this system, and they directly shape what's possible or impossible in the here and now.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got our house. It's sitting on a field with rules, it's getting battered by the weather, its purpose is defined by its modalities, and it's carrying its whole history, its trace. So the big question is, what can you actually do inside this thing? Well, it turns out there's a user manual, and you're not going to believe how simple it is.
So this user manual, what's inside? You'd probably expect a book with thousands, maybe millions of rules, right? Well, get this. It all boils down to just 20. That is it. Just 20 fundamental moves. Every single action that any system takes to solve a problem, from a tiny cell repairing itself to a massive financial market correcting its course, it's all just a combination of these 20 basic moves. All of a sudden, the insane complexity of reality, it starts to look a whole lot less intimidating, doesn't it?
And here it is, the whole shebang. This is the complete grammar, officially called the Symbolic Execution Logic, or just the SEL grid. Let's do a quick tour. Down the side, on the vertical axis, you've got the 4 surfaces. Just think of these as the 4 places a problem can even show up. Then, across the top, you have the 5 phases of what you can do about it. Start, check, adjust, redirect, or stop. And every spot where they cross, that's one of our 20 moves. 4 places, 5 actions. That's it. That's the entire playbook for reality.
Okay. Now here's where it all clicks together. This grammar, this set of 20 moves, is universal. It applies to everything. But, and this is a big but, it's not a free-for-all. You can't just pick any move you want. Remember the weather we talked about with our house? Well, those external conditions are always in play. They're the ones that decide which of these 20 moves are actually available to you in any given moment.
And this weather idea, it's not just a cute metaphor. Nope. It can actually be measured using 6 key variables. The best way to think about them is like 6 dials that control the entire environment. So you've got energy, which is just your raw capacity to do anything. Pressure is that classic tension between what you need to do and what you have to do it with. Entropy is basically the level of chaos and noise in the system. And it's the combined settings of all 6 of these dials that determine which of those 20 moves are even on the table to begin with.
So let's see how this actually plays out. It's really cool. When the weather gets nasty, super high pressure, really low energy, your options just shrink. The system itself forces you into defensive moves, stuff like suppress or even collapse. But when the conditions are great, low pressure, tons of energy, the whole playbook opens right up. Suddenly you can make these amazing creative moves like evolve or rebind. So the takeaway here is huge. The environment doesn't just influence your strategy, it literally selects it for you.
Okay, so that's all the theory. We've got the house, we've got the weather, and we've got the 20-move playbook. But so what? What does any of this actually do? How does this abstract grammar build the solid, concrete world we all live in? Well, it all happens through one simple-sounding but incredibly powerful process, solving contradictions, one at a time.
The key mechanism here has a name: symbolic compression. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the process of taking a messy, complicated, resource-sucking contradiction and just squashing it, compressing it all down into a stable, simple, and most importantly, reusable solution. And that solution, that becomes a symbol.
Let's make this super concrete with what we can call the hot soup problem. The contradiction is dead simple. You want to carry hot soup, but it's going to burn you and make a mess. The pressure is high, the conditions aren't great. So your brain, or any intelligence system, runs through its available SEL moves, and it lands on one in particular: response compress. And what pops out the other side of that move? The entire messy problem gets compressed into one elegant, stable symbol: the flask, or a thermos. Boom, problem solved. And now that solution, that symbol, can be used by anyone, forever.
And this, right here, is where things get really profound. Because this process of compressing problems into symbols, it's not just about making handy tools like a thermos. No, this goes way deeper. As the theory itself states, intelligence itself can be described as the recursive production, persistence, and transformation of symbols through SEL. Think about that. We're talking about the engine of creation itself.
And believe me, this process of symbolic compression does not stop with a flask. The plus sign? That's just a compressed solution to the annoying problem of always having to say and then add some more. A company? That's a compressed solution to the huge contradiction of getting thousands of people to work together. A story arc, the hero's journey, even DNA itself. They are all symbols. They are all elegant solutions that were once compressed out of total chaos.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this: our reality, everything from the phone in your hand to the government to your own DNA, is built layer by layer out of these compressed symbols. Every single one is like a fossil. It's the fossilized solution to some ancient contradiction. And each one becomes a solid, stable piece of the ground we stand on, allowing us to tackle the next, even bigger contradiction.
And that leaves us with a pretty deep question to think about, doesn't it? Every single thing you interact with, the tools you use, the company you work for, the ideas you believe in, every one of them is a symbol, a compressed solution to a problem someone somewhere had to solve. So what contradictions were solved to build the world you're living in right now? And maybe even more important, what contradictions have been compressed to create the symbols that make you, you?